Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we have some custom cards to go through, and they're not mine. They are due to a very wonderful creator known as Hazash, who has made these cards. It's a Dawnguard themed set, and today we'll be looking over the first part of it, having a read through, and I'll be giving you some of my thoughts on the actual set itself. So, for context, this set would be like its own expansion. And that's why this part we are just looking at some of the Volakar vampires to start off. And with these cards come a new mechanic. Because if some of you didn't know, we were meant to get a fourth expansion at the end of... I think it was at the end of, what, 2019 now? Wow, it's been a while. Shortly after Invade, and when I did message out to the team at Sparky Pants Studios, they did say that their rough ideas were to continue to focus on Gates of Oblivion, which would have possibly further helped with Invade, but as we know, a few people weren't too big fans of Invade, and with this set, the new Nightfall/Night mechanic is basically there as something which would work somewhat similar to Invade, but make sure it works in such a way that would be more interesting to people and hopefully cause a lot less issues. So the Nightfall mechanic here has been mentioned to work, slightly like Eternal's mechanic, if any of you have played that game. I have not played Eternal. All I know is that it was made by the same people who originally made Elder Scrolls Legends, Direwolf Digital, but then obviously Direwolf Digital lost the rights and Sparky Pants took over years ago. Oh my god, I don't know the exact years, but a while ago. So, as I was mentioning here, Invade had a very good theory and idea, but the actual execution was a bit dodgy and would sometimes lead to games either having these ridiculous combos or just completely falling apart, which you can read obviously here in a much better phrased way. But what he's trying to address with this Nightfall mechanic includes having creature and card types benefit from this mechanic and not just be Daedra. So here he's gone for a lot of the undead types like vampires and skeletons, but also including Falmer in that because they do synergize with Night, meaning that with this attribute, Night, hitting the board, it's not just the cards lifelessly getting these buffs, which are always universal. Each different card will react differently to the buffs they are getting. And that's mentioned here with their own bespoke... I do love the word bespoke. Bespoke synergies, rather than them all just getting gain a keyword, gain 2 keywords, gain 3 keywords, gain 4 keywords, etc, etc. And it's quite nice to kind of see how this changes. And the example is on Harkon here, but we'll get round to that when we get to his card. But as you can see, these mainly affect the Telvanni attributes of cards. And Nightfall is something that it will become night, and if it's already night, you will extend it. So here we've got the definition of how night works. So the actual ability itself doesn't do anything. So it will change the board's aesthetic, which will obviously be very cool. But when it hits Nightfall, you're not going to just see a bunch of zombies and Falmer just jumping out of the ground and start scratching away at opponents' cards. It's something where the cards on the board or the cards that get summoned after or during night will have their specific effects. So with how it works with turns is like this. So if Nightfall is originally placed, it will last for 1 turn. And if it's already night and you activate Nightfall, it will last for 2 turns, and so on. You guys can do maths, I'm sure. But it's also a 2-sided mechanic, so if your opponent's playing it, it will extend night for both players, which makes mirror matches more interesting and can lead to a much darker and grittier theme. Only some of the cards have ongoing effects, like I said, so some it's got to be you summon them or they're triggered when they're summoned, others will have it kind of gaining value as you go through. So the first card that we're looking at, Vampire Fledgling, it's pretty much your kind of simple card to do with summoning Nightfall. So like with Invade, it would be a simple card like the Scamp to just activate the effect and help you kind of get your similar stuff down, as he's mentioned here. So each night-based colour has a very vanilla trigger, so you'd be able to go through the attributes and just have that there for you. And seeing as night has no inherent effect, this card doesn't really make it too strong, allowing it to have stronger power and health. Anyway, moving on to Volakar Wizard. we have a 4-cost 3/6, which when summoned puts a random action into your hand if it's night. So here you can see one of the first kind of unique effects, which can kind of go a bit on the RNG side, which is why I like it, but it also allows you to kind of get draw power from it being night, but because it's random, it's not anything too powerful, making it a very fair and balanced common. The stats are quite good for it as well, so for a 4-cost with 3/6, it's quite nice to see, but as well, you know, if it's not nighttime, it's just a generic card which you'd mainly have on the board to kind of work with your other cards, as it's high elf plus vampire. I should probably mention all the pluses here are probably vampires. Next we have Castle Volakar itself, which obviously, you know, very majestic, but it's got quite a simple effect here, which is a 2-cost, which when activated, a friendly creature will consume another creature, and it becomes nightfall. And this card was, as you can see, designed to double as a reliable nightfall and consume trigger, because consume has its own little kind of thing outside of this set, but will also gain more to work with the cards that come out through it. Because as you could see, that consume really wasn't played with as much as we would have hoped to see, so it's nice to see it get used a bit more, and the fact that you can gain value from these creatures, which could be really nice. Next we have the 6-cost card Deathly Bite, which will cost 1 less for each round of night. So originally starting at 6, which might seem quite hefty, but then obviously if you've got Nightfall, like say you play Harkon, this instantly drops down to a 3. So it's not too bad. And then it puts an enemy creature into your discard pile. It then becomes a vampire. This card is basically used as very good removal, because not only is it getting rid of something on your opponent's side of the field, but it's also giving you something that you can resurrect, which usually can happen quite well with Endurance, but this set might also bring more to it, as well as the fact that it becomes a vampire, meaning it now can synergize with your cards as well. I just read the brackets here. This is literally the least saucy, high-quality picture I could find. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, what can I say? The internet's filled with an interesting selection of people. Anyway, moving on, we have Court Envoy, a 6-cost 6/7 with Guard, who is a Dark Elf plus Vampire, and when summoned, he will reveal your opponent's hand, and it will also reveal yours unless it's night. And the thing is, I've always thought about how strong it is revealing your opponent's hand, and realistically, even though you can kind of take a guess at what they're going to do and sort of play around it, it doesn't have any ridiculous repercussions from having a look at it. So I can always see that just being able to reveal your opponent's hand for like 1 turn pretty much, it's not too bad. So I think it's quite nice to see. And as you can see, the card's actually based off a character in the Dawnguard DLC, Garen Marefi, who gives you quests when you side with the vampires, and that there's actually kind of a thematic reason behind his effect, which is quite nice. And they've also mentioned here about how you can kind of see that how the Nightfall mechanic was meant to work, and that revealing your opponent's cards is a mechanic that you'll see a bit more throughout the set. And we will be going over the future ones, but just for today we'll be going over these first few cards. Next we have Castle Blacksmith, a 5-cost 1/5 Nord plus Vampire, which gets its epic quality due to its very nice selection of keywords of Guard, Lethal, Regenerate. And when summoned, if it's night, it will give friendly undead in your hand, deck, and discard pile +1/+1. So this is a very, very good card, because not only is it blocking up one of your lanes with Guard, Lethal, and Regenerate, but it also means if it's night, you can make sure that your undead cards are significantly stronger. Personally, I'd say this is probably one of the strongest cards we've seen so far. It's the only one where I could maybe see a slight change, like maybe knock off one of the keywords, probably Regenerate, because I can imagine if your opponent's got a bunch of weak units and a small swarm deck, this card will completely ruin your chances. Or maybe get rid of one of the locations that it buffs all the creatures from. Maybe because you want to have discard pile because it's vampires. You want to see them using their grave. Hand's quite nice, so maybe cut deck, but that's quite a big one. But yeah, this card's the only one so far that I've seen which might be a bit too strong. Maybe you could lower the health to 4, but no, I think I think it's still a very nice premise, and I like what they're doing with it. And then finally, we have Harkon, Vampire Lord, which I believe is the end of this set to look at. But he is a 10 cost, 6/6 for a sorcerer who's Nord plus Vampire. And he has Drain and Ward, 2 very nice keywords. But obviously his stats are quite low for a 10 cost, but then that's because his ability will make up for it. When he's summoned, Nightfall 3 will happen. And then at the end of your turn, if it's night, all other friendly vampires gain +1/+1, which then basically makes these stats really worthwhile. And you can see, as he's mentioned, it's a top-end card for the deck because it's making that all these vampires that you're getting through stealing your opponent's cards with Deathly Bite, and just the other ones in the set, will be getting buffs from him being on the board, especially when it's night, so it's not ridiculously overpowered because it's only happening when a certain board effect is on, which is really nice to see. And the thing is, like he's mentioned, his deadly combination of keywords puts serious pressure on the opponent and could make them have to force out a bit of removal or really center their focus onto this card. He's also mentioned here about some aesthetic changes, which would be during night, the card would transform into his Vampire Lord form. Purely aesthetically, there's no actual mechanical differences. And it would also be cool to see if his ward was blood red, which would really make him stand out and look unique, which I think would also be a very nice theme. Maybe if all of the vampire cards, when they had wards, had a maybe similar red one, would be quite cool, but obviously then that might take away a bit of the unique majesty to this card. And we've also got special thanks to Entar0178, who commissioned this piece of Harkon art here, which I'm not going to lie, I actually really like this because it looks like something out of the game, but you can see the quality of improvements here with the designs, and I'm quickly just going to show off Entar's other work. So as you can see, I believe that this is the same Entar0178. If not, I sincerely apologise, but they've got a lot of very cool looking commissions here, especially if, say, you're wanting to make a D&D character, for instance, either in what looks like Star Wars or even just, you know, Elder Scrolls. Like here you see the black hand mark. It's all really cool stuff and very impressive artwork to high quality, which can clearly show several different races. So again, if you've got a D&D campaign coming up and you desperately want some really nice art, I'd say this is probably someone that can commission you something very nicely looking. But yeah, that is the first part of the set. If you guys have enjoyed, please let me know. And obviously, thank you so much to Hazash for sending me this set. I was meant to start reviewing this like a month ago, but I vanished for like a month from YouTube just due to like burnout and wanting to focus on other things. But yeah, we've got the set here. I'm going to try and review one part a week. And if you guys do want to enjoy this, make sure to show some love to the creator. I'll see if I can find his Reddit as well. Yep, so here's his Reddit, Hazash. This was the original link. This is the lovely person who's made the set. And as you can see, there's a lot more for us to go through because I have massively fallen behind with the upload schedule. But it means that maybe I'll be able to do 2 a week in future. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, make sure to have a look at the set yourself. And I'll leave the Imgur link to it in the description. Other than that, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.